best Azure backend option to support DirectQuery for large data sets. So SQL DW / Azure Synapse, Databricks, Azure Analysis Services. What's the best architecture? Where I should put the data for best experience on the Power BI side. I will give you the consultant answer. It depends.
It depends.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on there, and then I can chime in.
First of all, what do you want to spend? Right. There's all kinds of criteria, right? What availability do you need? Blah, 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 blah. What type of data is it? Is it going to change over time, or is it just a full on load? For most of our stuff, operational, we have traditionally used SQL Azure databases, and we're moving away from that, moving toward Azure Data Explorer, Kusto. I love Kusto. I mean, that thing is, and it suits the purpose of the type of data that we're working with. Obviously, Synapse is out there. That's kind of a high end solution. Haven't gone into a lot of detail on that. That's basically the next generation of SQL data warehouse. Azure Analysis Services is one of the questions out there. Well, that's Power BI, right? I mean, really.
Yeah, Azure Analysis Services, that's a semantic model. That's a Power BI data set. So
Databricks, we personal experience, used that in the past. That works a treat. It's great from kind of a serverless environment. Spin it up, spin it down as you need to. If you want to use it as a constantly connected data source, it can be slow, and it can be expensive. So it's really hard to. You're right. It depends.
It depends. Well, it also depends how your data is laid out too, right? If your data,
that's right.
You could have it in a really awesome data source, and if your data is not laid out right, like star schema, that kind of thing, it's gonna suck.
I think it comes down to a lot of times it'll come down to the skill set of the folks that you have on staff as well.
That's it, skill set too. Yeah.
If you have folks who are able to write nice and analysis services cubes, if you're writing cubes is a different skill set than going into a data warehouse, right? They're very different skill sets, and it depends upon what resources you have at hand and how good they are at what they're doing. So if you have a crack developer that, on the SQL side who does data warehouses really well, but you have somebody who's learning analysis services, I'm probably going to go the data warehouse route because they're going to write more efficient more efficient data source, right? So it's not just the cost on the refresh side, but it's the cost on getting things set up as well. So that's really, honestly, from my perspective, is what are the resources that you have available, and what are you playing with today? Where's the data coming from? Also, is it coming from Azure SQL databases? If so, is it easier to move into a data warehouse because you have the skills and you can just populate and go?
Yeah.
So it just
what are your
depends.
data sources? What connectors are available, right? I mean, Databricks is brilliant at working with JSON data sitting in blob storage, right? Stuff like that.
I'm not that fat. Sorry.
So I did see
Love
someone
the
in
term
the
JSON blob.
Yeah, I saw someone in the chat said JSON, working with JSON data, and I'm like, nice. So yeah,
all my data.
Yes. So the thing I would add too is on some of your source. So when you start thinking about Azure Synapse Analytics the way it is today, concurrency becomes a factor in that as well. So there are some concurrency limits today with Azure Synapse Analytics that will be, going in the future, that will get better. From a Databricks perspective, I just from personal experience, I shy people away from using Databricks for DirectQuery. Just because it's more of a batch processing system. And when you start sticking interactive query load on top of that data source, Power BI can be very chatty, especially the more visuals you put on top of it. And like Databricks, and even like today with the concurrency limits with Azure Synapse Analytics, that can become a problem. And so that's when you want to look at using like the aggregate table feature with composite models in combination with DirectQuery to avoid the chattiness of Power BI. So those are factors to consider as well. And we've seen some very large customers, like there are very large customers using Power BI with large data, using that approach and having a lot of success. So, so there's definitely ways to accomplish it. But again, keep your data models simple. So star schema for the win. So don't take, I saw one customer where they had basically Azure SQL database, and the structure came from the CRM database, and it was the same table layout, or think of like a SharePoint database, right? And let's just stick DirectQuery on top of that. No, don't do that. That's going to be a bad day. That is a bad day.
Hacked into a SharePoint content database? Oh, yuck.
Yeah. Well, but they put a view in front of it, but the view is like 40 joins.
Oh, no.
They're like, look, it's only 10 million rows of data. This should be fast. I'm like, yes, but it's backed by like, a billion rows under the hood on 40 joins. I'm like, that's not good. So.
Yeah.